on Google Classroom, and you can find that material on Google Classroom. Again, it's due on Friday and it's 15 points. So 3 chapters, 5 points each chapter. Exam on Friday, multiple choice, and then it's also on Monday. So it's a 2-day exam, 2 separate parts. Each day is 21 multiple choice questions. I like odd numbers. So you can't stop at 20, you gotta go to 21. Those odd numbers need some love, not always even numbers. And then the last part I have on here, I'm gonna beg and plead, you're gonna hear me say this every day. If you're missing work from chapter 3, please look on Google Classroom and PowerSchool, especially if it's a test or a quiz and it's worth a good number of points. Making up one test or one quiz that is worth 25 to 30 points will really boost your grade and get you into a better range than what you may be sitting at right now. The grades are totally updated on PowerSchool. The only other things that will be added into those grades will be the midterm review, 15 points, and the midterm exam, 42 points. So those would be the other 2 things, but those are both big things. So again, you need to do those 2 things as well to get that grade in a nice level for the second marking period. The second marking period is over next Thursday. So the midterm exam will be the last grade of the marking period. Anything else we do next week will be on the 3rd marking period. So what I'd like you to do is to go to the packet that we started yesterday. If you were not in class yesterday, then you need to go to Google Classroom and pull up the midterm exam review packet. So it is posted yesterday on Google Classroom, midterm review packet. And we did the first page together as a class yesterday. So this first page you should have all done. I don't because I erased mine. And then we are going to look at a couple of the problems. And I thought I'd do number 4. So you were asked to work on these yesterday after class, which you had about 15 minutes once we were done. I made sure to label each one with the section number so you knew where it came from in case you wanted to kind of look in your book or in your notes. But looking at number 4, it says a bottle starts out 3 miles offshore, and each week is carried 2 miles further offshore than the previous week due to ocean currents. Write an algebraic model for the distance of the bottle offshore after W weeks. So we know our 2 variables have to be distance, D, and W for weeks. So our equation is going to say D equals, because we're going to model the distance. So let's say you're in a boat and you're fishing off the coast, maybe in the Outer Banks, and somebody drops a bottle in the water. Maybe it has a message in it, message in a bottle. We want to know how far that bottle is from the beach. And it starts out 3 miles offshore, because that's where your boat is. You're 3 miles offshore. So I'm going to start with a 3. And then it says each week it's carried 2 miles further offshore. So it's getting further away from the beach because it's getting carried into the ocean. So 2 miles each week means I have to increase the distance by 2 miles per week, or 2W. So this equation, it wants us to write an algebraic model, which is another name for an equation. The distance would be 3, because that's where it started. Because it's moving further away from shore, that distance has to be added or increased by 2 miles per week. And we write that in math as 2W. Now this question doesn't have us do anything else, but it could say find the distance after 5 weeks or find the distance after 10 weeks. But in this case, it's just asking us to write it as this equation. So if you look at the next one, you're asked to do pretty much exactly the same thing. You have $20 to spend on strawberries. They're sold for $2.50 a pint, which is pretty close to like typical. I think Shop and Save had them for $3. I think they were 2 for $6 this week. So $3. In the summer, they might be $2. Write an expression for the amount of money you have left after purchasing N pints. So I want to know, how much money would I have left? How could I figure that out? So let's see, N represents pints. And we want to know how much money we have left. So amount of money. Maybe I'll use M for money. I think that's what Mr. King did yesterday. How much money do we have left? So if I set it up the same way, Michael, how much money do we start with?
$25.
$25. If you buy strawberries, are you going to increase your $25 or are you going to decrease that $25?
Decrease.
Yeah, decrease means minus in math. And we are subtracting $2.50 for every pint of strawberries that we buy. So if I go to the store and I buy 5 pints of strawberries, I'm going to give them $25, but Mrs. K never has money, so I just give them my credit card. But maybe you keep cash. I bet Mr. King has cash. I definitely don't ever have. No?
Oh yeah, I do.
You do? Yeah, I never have cash.
Yes.
So your $25, he's going to pay $25 for his strawberries. Maybe he's going to get 10 or 15 pints of strawberries because he really, I guess 10 pints of strawberries. He really likes strawberries. He's going to give the cashiers $25 and maybe he'll have change. Questions? All right, so I'm going to go to one more problem and then Mr. King is going to go over a few with you as well. So I'm scrolling down, I'm skipping the next page. And I'm scrolling to number 10. Number 10 says, look for a pattern in the table, write an equation that represents the pattern. The equations that we just wrote above were in the form, or similar to the form, y equals mx plus b. And that's what we're going to use to try and write a pattern as well. So the first thing it says is to look for the pattern. When you're looking for a pattern, you want to look at the y. What's happening with the y? So Haley, what's happening with the y values?
They're going up by 1.
Yeah, every time I move, it's going up 1 each time. And that's the same thing with x as well. Each x is moving up 1 each time. Well, the slope represents the movement of our graph. So the pattern is the same thing as the slope. So our pattern, she said, was up 1. So I'm going to write 1x as my pattern because that's how the problem moves. We move up 1 each time. Now, the b represents our y-intercept, and we always said you begin with b. On a graph, we begin at the y-intercept. The y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. Because we graph a point on the y-axis, well, that's where our graph begins when x is 0. So if you look at your table of values, here's where x is 0. Haley, what is the y value when x is 0?
2.
2. So that's our b. So the pattern is up 1. That represents M. You begin with B, and that's 2. So now I have my equation, y equals 1x plus 2. We did this in section 1.5 as well. Does anybody have questions that you would like to ask, other problems that we can go over? You can send them in a chat as well if you don't want to ask out loud. Just open up your chat feature and you can just send me number 3, number 5, any other problems that you want to go over. Mr. King, are there any other problems you think I should go over?
No, I think that's good.
Okay, so we're going to continue on. If you scroll down to the next group, Mr. King is going to talk about chapter 2 with you.
All right.
There we go.
Woo. Okay, so we're going to start off right off the bat with domain and range. Remember that your domain, Jason, is that with your X values or your Y values? Jason, which one's your domain? Is it your X values or your Y values? All right, so domain, that's going to be your X values or your inputs. And then your range is your Y values or your output. To tell whether it's a function or not, each input can only have one output. So that means that an X value cannot go to more than one Y value. So X values can only be used once. So when we go through our domain, we just want to pick out our X values. Very simple. So our first X values, we have 3, -5, 2, 3, and then -4. Haley, was any of these used twice?
3.
Yeah, 3 is used twice, so therefore, is it a function, yes or no?
No.
No. Yeah, it's not a function because 3 is used twice. So we'd say no. X equals 3 is used twice. Good. Chase, what are my Y values here?
Can't even. 3.
No, our range values. Our range. So all of the Y values are output.
-2.
Good.
7, 0, 8, and 1.
Yeah. Oops. Any questions about domain or range? That's one thing we haven't really looked at for a while, so that's going to be a review for you. I mean, last time we saw this was beginning of chapter 2. So any questions about that? So now we want to tell whether a function is linear and then evaluate the function when x equals -4. So when it's linear, we need to remember y equals mx plus b. All right, looking at this first one. Michael, is this linear for part B?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Look right here.
No.
No. Good. Oops. And then why is it not linear?
Because the x is squared.
Yeah. Absolutely. So now we're just going to plug in -4. So we're plugging f of -4. -4 times -4, negative and negative give you a positive. So this will equal 16 minus 4, which is just 12. Any questions on that? TJ, is part C linear?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. So you just put yes. And then for your reason, you put y equals mx plus b. And then now we're going to plug in -4. So you go f of -4 equals 1/2 times -4 plus 5. 1/2 times -4 will give you -2. Plus 5, and then 5 minus 2 is 3. So are there any questions about determining whether an equation is linear using the form y equals mx plus b? So I'll give you a second to copy that down and we'll move on to the next. So now we're just going to graph the equation and also want us to list our slope and y-intercept. So if you notice, our slope is our m and our y-intercept is our b. Haley, what's our m, what's our b on this equation?
Our M is 3 and our B is -2.
Good, and you start at -2. From there, you go up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. And you guys did a real nice job with this. And then you can also go left, down 3 to the left 1, down 3 to the left 1. Then from there, just draw your line. Questions on that? And then we got the same thing over here. Jason, what's our M, what's our B?
M is -1 and B is +5.
You got it. So then quick graph, the y-intercept's 5. And you go down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1. And then you can also go up 1 to the left 1. Okay, any questions on graphing? So now we're going to find slope of a line passing through the given points, and you want to tell whether the line rises, falls, is horizontal, or is vertical. So we got to remember our slope formula. So our slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So we have these variables here, our numbers here, let's just label them. We have x1, y1 for a first point, and then x2, y2 for a second point. Then you just plug in the formula. -2 minus a -2 all over -4 minus 3. -2 minus the -2 will give you 0 all over -7 0 divided by -7 is going to give you 0. Michael, can you tell me about a line that has a slope of 0? Does it rise, fall? Is it horizontal or is it vertical?
Wouldn't that be horizontal?
Yeah. Absolutely. And just so you know, just to review, if it's a positive slope, it rises. If it's a negative slope, it falls. If it's 0, it's horizontal. And if the slope does not exist, it's vertical. So now we're going to do the next part. And same thing. I'll just go through real quick. X1, oops, Y1. And then we have X2, Y2. From there, you plug in. And Chase, what do I write down here? What's my Y2 minus Y1? You follow that formula.
Six minus or six. Yeah, six
Okay,
minus 4. -4.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do either way. It does not matter which one you start with. So you could do
Or
6
some-
minus -4, and then what's on the bottom?
6 minus -7 or
I
9.
mean 9. Yeah,
9.
9 minus -7. Good. Okay. Minus negative gives us a positive, so that gives us a 10. And then over 16. This does reduce. 2 goes into both. So we get 5/8. And then Chase, that's positive. So is it going to rise or fall?
Rise, it's rise.
Yeah. That's it. Any questions on F or G? Okay, so next it says write the line of the equation. Sorry, write the equation of a line in y equals mx plus b form given the following information. We know that the slope is 3 and it passes through the point 2, -5. So let's start with, we know that the slope is 3. That means you're going to have y equals 3x plus b. Now we're going to plug in what we know. Well, we know these 2 points. We know our x value and we know our y value. So let's plug those in. Our y is -5. Our x is 2. And now all we have to do is solve for b. We get -5 equals 6 plus b. Subtract the 6 over. And then we get b equals -11. So who can tell me what the final formula is going to be? What's my y going to equal? Haley?
Y equals 3x minus 11.
Yeah, that's it. Any questions on that? Okay, now we're going to look at tell whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Parallel is the same slope. Perpendicular is the negative reciprocal or a flip-flop, and neither means that it's just a different slope. It's neither the same slope or the negative reciprocal. So we noticed that we have two equations. The first equation is already in y equals mx plus b form. The second one, we need to convert to y equals mx plus b form. So I'll do that very quickly here. So first we'll subtract the 2x over. So you get negative 4y equals negative 2x plus 10. And we're going to divide by 4. Sorry, negative 4. And we get y equals 1/2 x minus, and then this is going to give you a fraction here. 2 goes into both, so it's going to be 5/2. So the only thing we have to look at to tell whether it's parallel, perpendicular, or neither is the slopes. Chase, what's the slope in the first equation?
1/2.
Good. What's the slope in the second equation?
1/2.
Yeah. So they're the same. So then what are our lines going to be?
Parallel.
You got that right. Okay, so are there any questions about any of the things we reviewed today? Remember, just a quick review, domain and range. Domain is your x values, range is your y values. To be a function, each domain value, x value, can only go to one output. So for each input, there's only one output. We also looked at determining whether it's a linear function, y equals mx plus b, the slope formula, and then also parallel perpendicular lines. So if there are any questions, you're more than welcome to stay on. We'll be here to answer anything you may have. If not, you could go and work on the rest of the problems for chapter 2, and then we'll answer any questions from that homework tomorrow. Reminder, do not submit the homework until Thursday or Friday, because we're going to review everything on Thursday. Is going to be a big review day, and then we'll just submit this at the end of the week.
Yeah, so you're kind of working in progression. You're doing a little bit each day, but the whole thing is due on Friday. So that's when you would finally submit the assignment. And you can use this worksheet on the midterm exam. So it benefits you to do it and write any notes down that we're taking right now. It's to your benefit to have everything done as you possibly can, so you kind of use it to help you on the midterm. So as Mr. King said, feel free to remain on if you have questions. Have a great day.
Have a good day.
See ya.
Bye.
TJ, you there, bub?
Yes, no, it's just
Okay. You're still recording this.
Got it.